Hello, everyone. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment saying where you're from and when you watched. That way, YouTube will continue to show you stories like this. Now, let's get started. Asterisk, ever since I saw the bottomless staircase in the Black Forest, my life has never been the same. Every time I close my eyes, I see the image of moss-covered stairs, dark shadows lurking in the mist, and a faint sound coming from underground. At first, I thought it was just a psychological trauma, a haunting after a strange survey trip. But then, strange things started to happen at night. I was often awakened by a very small knocking sound coming from outside the tent door. It was not loud, but it was as regular as a heartbeat. When I went out to check, there was nothing but thick fog and pitch-black trees. I turned on my flashlight and panned around, but couldn't see any footprints. However, when I went back inside, I realized that the recording device I had left on the table was turned on and running, even though I was sure I hadn't touched it. When I played back the recording, a voice rang out in the silence. A very soft whisper. It sounded like it was coming from underground. A slow, soft, chilling call. Daniel, goosebumps ran down my spine. I had never heard the sound directly. It had only appeared in the device. But strangely, the voice repeated itself, exactly 3 times, ending with a series of tapping sounds, like someone walking down a stone staircase. I took the recording to a friend named Eric, who specializes in sound and signal engineering. He listened to it over and over again and decided that the tapping sound was not an animal sound or a natural echo. It was periodic, had weight, and seemed to come from a very deep, very hidden place, like a cellar or a cave. We decided to go back to the Black Forest to check the same place. That afternoon, when it started to get cold, we entered the forest. Eric had brought a specialized acoustic resonance meter, which can pick up radio signals from underground and analyze sound frequencies below the human hearing range. I led Eric to the exact spot where I had seen the bottomless staircase, but this time there was nothing there. It was still an empty lot covered in dry leaves, and there was no sign of a staircase. I stood still, eyes closed, trying to remember the feeling from last time. A cold wind brushed the back of my neck. When I opened my eyes, Eric had turned on the recording device and was watching the screen intently. Small waves gradually appeared. At first, it was just a slight static, but then the signal began to increase. A clear waveline appeared. Eric frowned at me. Something was moving underground. We sat motionless, listening to the recording from the device. In the strange silence, we heard footsteps again. Clack, 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 but not from outside, from below, as if someone was walking up. Then a sigh sounded very close. I turned to Eric and saw that his face was pale. He motioned for silence and turned up the volume. This time, the sound was clearer than ever. A series of whispered words repeated over and over. Get down here, Daniel. Get down here. We both stood up. Neither of us said a word. I felt a chill run down my spine, as if an invisible hand had brushed my neck. Suddenly, the device screen flickered. The signal suddenly spiked and then died. There was a slight explosion. The device burned with a burning smell of plastic. Eric quickly unplugged it and stepped back. But at that moment, the ground where I was standing began to shake slightly, and a part of it sunk. I only had time to scream before a small section of the ground collapsed, revealing the exact spot where I had seen the bottomless staircase. It appeared again, but this time more clearly than before. The stone steps, covered in mud and rotten grass, appeared as if they had been freshly excavated from the ground. The air became thick. The silence was eerie. Eric asked me with a trembling voice, "Should we call the authorities?" Shook my head. This was not something that could be explained by science. I took out the recorder from my backpack and started recording. I walked to the edge of the stairs and shined the flashlight down. This time, I saw all the way to the 20th step. The stone was wet and slippery, but there was no sign of decay or collapse, as if it was preserved by some force. The sound from below rang out again. This time, it was no longer a whisper, but a clear and deep voice. "Come down." "Daniel, I have waited a long time." I turned to look at Eric, but he had already backed away. His eyes looked at me in panic, as if I was someone else. Before I could react, the flashlight suddenly went out. Darkness swallowed the bottomless staircase, and it disappeared again, as if it had never existed. I stood there in the middle of the black forest. Only absolute silence and the sound of my heart pounding in my chest. I knew I couldn't escape it. The bottomless staircase had found me, and one day I would have to go down, watch the next episode to find out what led Daniel back there and why the bottomless staircase chose him as its next.